Hello and welcome to episode number 36 of the Perth to Paisley Podcast. We come back with Hearts having 2 wins on the bounce, almost unbelievably. I am one of your hosts, Daniel McIver, and I am as ever joined by Adam Kennedy. Adam, how you doing?
I'm not too bad, mate. Been better, been worse. Just obviously delighted that the famous collected all 3 points and kept the clean sheet that I was craving. What about yourself?
Doing very well, basically the same. Every day is just still mush and flowing into itself. But yes, we're here to speak about Hearts actually winning a game of football after previously winning a game of football. It's unbelievable. Before we do so, of course, at the start of every episode, we do want to remind you about the Talk of the Toon sessions. If you don't know what they are by now, I don't know what you're doing. A fantastic opportunity to chat with fellow Hearts fans. We're very much getting into like a regular crowd now, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. There seems to be the occasional few names and faces that I recognise in more and more sessions, which is fantastic. So long may it continue, and hopefully they're enjoying it just as much as we are.
Absolutely. So we don't want to keep going on about it the same amount of time every single week, because some people will be like, yes, we know. So all the information is, as always, in the description, and you can just go to any of the socials of Big Hearts and you will find it there. So we're getting straight in to speaking about Hearts' win at the weekend against Ayr United. New manager Ayr United after they had sacked Mark Kerr. I was about to call him Matt Kerr because I know a guy called Matt Kerr. No, Mark Kerr, FM legend Mark Kerr, and he was replaced by David Hopkin. So before we actually get into the game, what do you think of that as a appointment?
I think, basically, I said it on Twitter. I think he's the outstanding appointment for Ayr United at this particular time. I think the job that he did with Livingston in particular was incredible, and to be honest, working in the circumstances that he would have at Morton, I can see why a parting of the ways obviously became apparent. So I think Ayr are a pretty well run club, and I think he's an excellent manager. And to be honest, if we're going off the weekend's performance, I feel it's only a matter of time before they climb the championship table after that, to be fair. What about you?
I think that's a pretty fair assessment. He's very much just a safe pair of hands at this level, really. As you said, his previous times at Livingston and stuff like that show that he can do well with a club, and Ayr clearly have some individuals that this season means that they should be able to push towards something. If that is playoffs, which is where they probably think themselves to be, then we will see. However, they did travel to Tynecastle at the weekend, and a lot of people, I think ourselves included, were expecting another patented Robbie Neilson changing formula. However, he fielded the exact same team and in the exact same formation. He went back to the diamond. So just a quick rundown. It was Gordon, Smith, Halkett, Popescu, Kingsley, Irving, Halliday, McInnes, Mackay-Steven, and then up top together, Boyce and Nandwilly. It seemed, Adam, that when the team came out, Hearts Twitter was quite confident.
Yeah, it did, and I think we had every right to be, given just how decent we were against Dundee for a good hour or so. I don't think it's any real surprise that it was an unchanged team. I think everybody was surprised in the sense that Robbie's not making the change. But listen, I'm going to bang the drum of a winning team. You don't change a winning team, and to me it was pretty refreshing to see us obviously not using the 4-2-3-1 first of all, and going with the same personnel in that exact same formation. So yeah, very, very encouraged once I saw that. And it sort of added to the pre-match confidence that I had. Were you in that sort of same boat?
Weirdly, yes. Despite, I think, in the last podcast making jokes about how we're probably going to get beat, I actually was quite confident. But maybe it's because of my apathy in general towards the season, as I've spoken about. I was kind of like, well, I might as well be confident. Let's see what happens. But yeah, when the team came out, and it was, for me, the biggest thing was the diamond stayed in place. I was really, really happy about that. So I was thinking, right, cool, we're going to go into quite a comfortable victory. And honestly, I don't know what much I can say or that you'll be able to say about that first 45 minutes of association football?
Some watch, wasn't it? It was riveting, very, very entertaining. No, I mean, it was a sluggish start to say the least. To be honest, I think if we're looking at the first half on the whole, there's only really a couple chances, if that. I think there was a Liam Boyce sort of half header, which, it's nothing really clear cut. I think that the best chance that we've probably had throughout the first period was Andy Halliday's. The nice little build-up, lovely sequence of passing. And if he had a right peg, then to me it would have been 1-0. But then there came a mix-up with obviously Nandwile, Smith, and Halliday himself. So I was meaning to ask you, did you have Michael Smith first goal scorer? Because if that was the case, I'd be absolutely fuming that Halliday doesn't leave it for Smith and that Big Nando doesn't get out of the way.
Well, this is the thing that made me even more annoyed.
You did, didn't you?
When you watch it back, Nandwile does actually get out the way of Smith. So if Halliday doesn't fucking get involved, I'm £50 richer. But no.
What did you have on him? What price? And
I
what
put
stake?
£2 on, so it was like 28 to 1 or something. So it would have got like
28 to 1. Is that what he's at?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a sore one because
£50.
he had a chance later on, I think, in the second half.
Yeah, he did.
As well,
second half, and it's still 0-0. He does. He puts it just past the post. Yep.
Ouch. That's a sore one. But no, I think if we're talking about the first period, I think that the Irving Nando link up nearly came to fruition. Obviously, it did later on in the second period, but I thought it was a lovely wee clip ball from Andy Irving over the top. And to be honest, I quite like us switching up the approach rather than it being all patient possession, waiting for an opening, going that little bit more route one. And it seemed to me as though it was just the angle was the only thing that was kind of preventing Nandwile from putting us 1-0 up early on, because it becomes trickier sort of the further that he takes it on. I think Kyle Lafferty, I used to get frustrated at him because he was the polar opposite. I felt as though he'd often take a shot on too early, whereas I felt as though the big man could have and perhaps should have pulled the trigger that wee bit sooner. But ultimately, I mean, the angle, it would have been quite the finish had he tucked that away. But first half, very, very poor. And to be honest, I'd say I probably felt more so for Liam Boyce because he was largely ineffective. And we've said pod after pod that he's one of, certainly in your eyes, our most important player. And I just felt as though he was largely ineffective, perhaps again due to possession for possession's sake, and he seemed starved for the most part. And I felt as though toward the end of the first half, it was really reflected in the fact that he would often drop deeper to collect the ball, and I don't blame him for doing so because I don't want to see like a heat map or whatever, but very few touches on his part, and I would primarily put that down to the service that's, around him.
I would agree. I think you're being slightly harsh with the Nandwile chance. I actually just think it's a really good save.
Well, it is a good save, but I think it's one that the keeper's expected to make. I mean, if Nandwile scores, it's a fantastic finish.
Yeah, I actually don't know if he can take it early because the pace in the ball, his first touch brings it down almost as well as he can, and then he only takes one further step. I just think the pace in the ball, it's a fantastic ball by Irving. But
I thought maybe just inside the box, no?
I know what you mean,
but yeah, I mean, the touch makes it, doesn't it? Because he's got to evade the centre half or whatever.
Yeah.
I get that.
But I generally agree. My main issue was that I thought the midfield, especially in that first half, were terrible. Irving aside, although I thought Irving took a while to grow into the game, but Halliday, McAneff and Mackay-Steven, I thought all were really poor, and as a result we were just getting completely overrun in the middle of the park.
I find that interesting because I actually thought that first half Andy Halliday seemed to find himself amongst the opportunities more than anyone else, and I think this diamond suits him down to a T because kind of when you watch them at Rangers, he'd often get forward from fullback, and if you're taking it further back in his career, his probably most noteworthy moment is his goal at Stamford Bridge for Bradford, and he's sort of hovering on the edge of the box, arriving from deep, and when you actually watch it, I mean, then he's got a right foot, and it's no problem, it's a fantastic finish, but I like the look of him in this supposed diamond, in a kind of, I wouldn't say he's a standard sitter anymore, he seems to want to become a box-to-box type, and I don't know whether that's because he sees Aaron McInnes on the other side, but I think Irving and Halliday would get pass marks. I'm not so sure about the other two.
See, that's interesting, because I thought Halliday was bad. No, I don't think he had a good game.
I actually thought he was decent, mate, and I think, well, put it this way, I think if we're looking at that midfield quartet, if you're asking me in the first half or so, I thought we were obviously very poor, and I don't know whether that's down to Gary Mackay-Steven not being that creative influence from number 10. And I think we've got a good 2 or 3 players that could perform in that role better than he did.
I think that is a wee bit of an understatement. It was like playing with 10 men.
And you know, this is the annoying thing, because I hear people talk about wingers' inconsistencies, and I get it. But yet, against Dundee, he looked really good in the number 10, and yet, at the weekend, he was non-existent. And the week before, obviously, Dundee at Inverness, he looked as though he was getting back to his best. So it seems like it's been 2 decent performances, and now a terrible one. So he's got some making up to do, let's say, up at Gayfield.
Definitely. I will say, maybe bad, because I don't think anybody you could say is bad in a 2-0 comfortable win. But
no, I just mean in terms of, you know, kind of when it looks as convincing and comfortable a win, you'd sort of expect 7s across the board, really. 6s, 7s across the board. Be lucky if GMS registered a 4 or 5.
Well,
terrible.
According to Joel Sked, he did get a 5, but so did Aaron McInnes, which I think is a bit harsh.
I think McInnes worthy of a 5, but I don't think that GMS is worthy of a 5.
I think it's harsh on McInnes and not harsh enough on GMS.
I would say it's not harsh enough on GMS, but I think it's about bang on for McInnes, to be honest, mate. I thought that was his worst performance so far, but he has been pretty decent on the whole since coming in.
I would agree with that, but I still don't think he had a bad game. I just think he was quite quiet because, especially in that first half, Ayr just had the dominance in the midfield, so he often had 2 men on him.
I get that, and I think that's a good point in that it is obviously down to how Ayr are set up. But if we're talking about kind of wanting to carve out chances, I thought that Michael Smith looked back to his brilliant best at the weekend, obviously looking to provide from full-back as he often used to, and I just felt as though we saw much more of that on Saturday, which makes you wonder why the midfield can't do that. Why McInnes and GMS, I mean, Halliday didn't really provide, he just found himself at the heart of chances, but I just love Michael Smith, and I think had we not re-signed Craig Gordon, he should be vice captain minimum for me. I absolutely love him, and Saturday it seemed as though he was back, which was great.
I actually do think that the formation explains why Smith was more involved in the midfield, because that's what this formation does. It means that you overload the midfield, so then the opposition have to go in, which leaves space for your wing backs.
I was about to say, and the width is provided from the full backs, isn't it? So yeah, no, I get that. But Smith often drifts inside as well. I mean, there was a chance where Big Nando has, I think it's in the second half, and Smith cuts inside, feeds it with his left foot, and obviously then Nando hits it at Sinisalo again. It's another good save. But yeah, just Smith was superb, and it's obviously what he's capable of. He was back to his brilliant best for me.
He was, and generally speaking about the defence, I actually think the defence had a good game, but I'd actually say Halkett was the weakest part of that back four.
I mean, they didn't exactly have a lot to do though, did they?
I was going to say, I don't think any of them had a bad game. I think they all played well, and it was actually one of the best performances they've had as a back four, probably.
I get what you mean though. Yeah,
but there was one chance. It wasn't a chance. But there was a moment in the first half where I think it was a goal kick played from them, where it was just punted up in the air, and Halkett had all the time in the world, but he let it bounce right in front of him, and it allowed Michael Moffat to get in and almost create a chance. And Smith and Popescu look at him almost as if like, was that on purpose because you're bored? Like, what was that?
Just for that bit of excitement in the game, isn't it?
Yeah, because they'd done nothing all game, so it's like, I want to be involved.
Yeah, it's listen, defensively, obviously, I touched on wanting that clean sheet. I do think we are a little bit. I don't know for the right word. Still a little bit defensively naive. We're not great, but I mean, a clean sheet, fantastic. But again, it's not as though they had a lot to do. I thought that Smith certainly was the outstanding performer in the back four. You could argue contributed more than the other three put together. To be honest, it seemed as though everything was kind of down the right hand side with him.
Absolutely. As we say, first half was incredibly dull. We then move into the second half, and from the 45th minute, the 46th minute, I guess, whistle till the 90, I was much happier than in the first half. First 15 minutes, this is now where I'd like to speak about Ayer's shape, because BBC have them down as a 4-2-3-1. I would argue it was a 5-5-0, because that is one of the most defensive performances I've seen at Tynecastle this season, which is saying something. And it took us a lot of time to break it down, which it always was going to, and I think some people were getting frustrated that it was taking us so long. However, we eventually did, but they offered nothing the whole game in an offensive sense.
No, they didn't, and that was my primary frustration, that we couldn't break them down. It reminded me so much of the 2-0 win at Capello. Again, a David Hopkins team obviously taking on Morton, but just really, really tough. And like I say, the onus was kind of on midfield in order to carve opportunities out, wasn't it? And that just didn't seem to really arrive till later on in the match, which again is a frustration. I think the number 10 debate's obviously going to be a big one, but yeah, just really poor. But again, we have to give credit to Ayr, because they were decent, and to be honest, if that's David Hopkins' dugout debut, it's only a matter of time that they climb that table, because they were only 20 minutes away from shutting out a side that's scored in every competitive match this season. Like you say, they didn't create a lot offensively, but that'll come, and to be fair, they shouldn't get any harder tests than this Tynecastle trip. So I think it was a much better defensive display than when we actually beat his Morton team at Capello, to be honest.
Absolutely. But as you say, we made some changes on the 66th minute. Both Aaron McInnes and Gary Mackay-Steven came off for Gervain Castanier and Jamie Walker, and then it was about 6 minutes later, Michael Moffat, actually doing defensive work, kind of just grabs Andy Irvine by the waist.
Needless challenge.
Yeah, it's especially for someone of his experience. You think he wouldn't make that, but he does grab him. Just before we go on to speak about what happened, I have a question for you. Why has Andy Irvine been taken off set pieces just because Aaron McInnes in the team?
Baffles me, because again, I'm delighted you brought this up, because toward the end, his corners, his in-swingers on that right-hand side with his left peg, I think are a real asset. And he's just superb, isn't he? He really is. It's embarrassing how much of an obsession I've got with Andy Irvine. But what a player, and just beg that we do the right thing. But that's obviously up in the air at the minute, if you'll pardon the pun. But it just, what a player. And again, Why does everything seem to have to come through him? You know, we're going to talk on Jamie Walker's goal. He's again at the heart of it, but for Big Nando's, I mean, what a delivery! And his job's then made simple given how good the ball in from Irving is. I thought that. I don't know. The changes came at the right time, or they were the right changes. I don't know whether they could have been made that little bit earlier, but I think from then it was only a matter of time, really. But I'm surprised that it sort of came from a dead ball situation as to how we broke the deadlock, if I'm honest.
Well, as you say, Andy Irvine did win that free kick, and as Aaron McInerney was off the park, he took it, a fantastic in-swinging ball to... Right, listen, you gave me shit when the big Frenchman arrived and I said he was the best player in the world. Adam, he's played 7 games, has 4 goals, 2 assists, and he was doing a concert in his car the day with Pink and Annie Lennox. He's the greatest player ever.
Ain't nobody like Nandwile.
No, that's not the song.
Makes me feel this way. No, but that came on the radio this morning, and I instantly just put 2 and 2 together. I thought it was a sign. He was just the big man was phenomenal.
I'm refusing to let you do this. Why? You don't get to do this.
No. Do you know? Right. Here's the frustration.
You hated him.
No, I didn't. I hate when Hearts sign a striker, and because we've been starved of a decent centre forward for so long, the pressure's instantly piled upon them. You were guilty of that with him, and to be fair,
has it paid off, Adam? Has it fucking paid off?
So far it has, but how many Hearts strikers have we seen that get off to a decent start, the goals dry up, and then all of a sudden we're wanting them
3?
Cast away?
90% of them are just shit forever.
But even then there'll be some that like bag on the debut and then we're like, this is it. The new Robo's here.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That happened. And then he got 2 assists. And then everybody went, oh, his goals have dried up. Listen, and he's scored in back-to-back games.
Listen, he looks good. I've got absolutely no doubt that he is good. But I've learnt to just rein it in with Hearts centre forwards.
Adam! You're on a podcast. You need to get invested. You need to make ridiculous statements. And you live and die by them. My ridiculous statement was that Nandwile was going to be the best signing we've ever made, and so far it's living up to that title.
Listen, so far I can't think of a better goals to game ratio probably since we've been alive for us. Exactly. To be honest. No, he's a real handful, and to be honest, I feel as though the best is still yet to come. It seems as though there's still a lot more to come from him, and I don't know whether it'll be a case of he grabs a couple from now till the end of the season, and then with that full pre-season under his belt just smashes the Prem. I would love if that was the case, and we've got somebody to kind of, hang our hat on as such, because I think defensively we'll still struggle unless a couple recruits come in. So I think if we are scrapping for points every week, it's vital that we've got somebody that we can depend on. Between him and Boyce, that should be enough ammunition, obviously definitely for this league, and should be for the top tier as well.
And also, I tweeted this at the time, it's like, what a novelty. Crossing it into the muckle guy works.
Who would have thunk it? Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, a guy with such an aerial presence making the most of it. I mean, wow. What? It blows my mind. Unbelievable.
He just does everything so well, because so many times we've seen it where we have a big guy, like for example you mentioned Lafferty earlier. Lafferty was shit in the air despite his height. He was much better with the ball at his feet, but Nandwile won everything in the air. I don't even mean offensively. The amount of times Craig Gordon would punt it up and he'd win the knockdown. When the ball's kind of pinballing in the air, he would just take it out the air, drag it down and play it off. He just does everything so easily. Like, he never tries to do anything stupid where he's like, I'm going to try and play this 40-yard pass. He's like, he'll do the easy thing but make it look easy, as he should.
And I think that's a great point, because I look at the better centre forwards in world football at the minute. Harry Kane's excellent at that. You know, his game isn't complicated, it's simple, it's basic, and he thrives because of it. I think Big Nando, to me, he reminds me a bit of Lafferty in the kind of lanky sense. I mean, he's obviously got a bit more about him, but I don't know, he's got a good football brain. I think he's a decent ball player, if you know what I mean. He's not clunky. He can pass, he can hold it, link up, and just seems a real nuisance, which is fantastic. And obviously, if we're being frank, I mean, that's been our style since the 80s, as far as I'm aware, with my dad. So yeah, it just I mean, it's no surprise that he's obviously rocked up to Hearts. I think some big, I don't want to say like a big balloon, some big kind of target man type was always going to happen. But he seems a real find for sure, definitely, and I'll be intrigued to see when the chemistry between he and Liam Boyce is at its peak, because I feel as though the two of them could really be a great partnership for us. Hopefully that's the case anyway.
And then from that kind of point on, I think everybody went, right, okay, that's the points. However, it was officially put to bed 10 minutes later with 4 minutes left. Michael Smith plays a fantastic ball in. Something happens that we'll speak about in a minute, and Jamie Walker is there to rifle it in to score his 51st goal. Adam, how disappointed are you that he didn't do a 5-1 celebration?
Somewhat disappointed, I can't lie. He'll never get a better chance, but
that's all I thought he was going to do. I was like, because he did 50 when he's got, and I was like, now you can do 5-1, and he just didn't do it.
But that's that gone, Jamie. That ship sailed. But I think I'm not really all surprised that he didn't go full Tonto. I think it's more a frustration thing, to be honest. He seemed more relieved, didn't he, rather than actually pleased to score.
Well, especially after he missed that chance with his first touch.
Oh, I could not believe that. And funnily enough, we were talking about Michael Smith earlier. It's obviously his initial shot, which very nearly ends up in the net. Mm-hmm. But how Jamie misses the rebound, I will never know. I mean, it was harder to miss than score. And to be honest, was that was at 0-0, wasn't it?
That wasn't 0-0. It was 4 minutes before we scored the first.
I don't know whether this is just my pessimistic outlook, but do you then start to think this just isn't going to be our day? Or do you think it's only a matter of time? Or, I mean, it's coming.
I thought, okay, it's coming. Like, we're going to get more chances like that.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, there was an element of doubt for me. But I think, like I say, we have scored in every competitive fixture this season, I think.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
So, it's bizarre, because my previous frustration was that kind of attacking play and not making the most of our offensive prowess, if you like. But that's pretty impressive that we've managed to score in every game. I mean, listen, we should be in this league, but encouraging, I think. And even, listen, we weren't at our best at the weekend, but 2 goals in the final 20 minutes, it's fine. It suits us. I mean, Big Caston, nearly made my prediction come to fruition late on, but you obviously kept the streak alive, predicting 2-0. So
I did. I'm on a roll of twos.
That's us, 2 from 2, isn't it? As long as one of us gets it right. So
yeah, exactly. Perth to Paisley, 2-0 up after a 2-0 prediction. But you did mention Javine Castanier. Right, listen. For the people saying he meant to do it, like, I don't even know what to say to you. Because if you haven't seen it, somehow, Michael Smith crossed the ball in.
It's a superb cross, can I say.
It's a fantastic ball in.
Probably the best of the day, bar Irving's assist for Big Nando.
Absolutely. Just puts it on Castanier's head. All Castanier has to do is stand still and just kind of slightly turn his head to the left, and it's a goal. And yet, he does like a diving weird thing, and it just hits off the back of his head somehow, and thankfully falls to Walker. Now, to the people who are saying, no, he meant it, the reason you know he doesn't mean it is because if you watch it back, he's on the ground punching the ground in annoyance as the ball flies past him. If he meant to do it, he would have been in the way because it would have hit him.
I just think it's sheer genius.
Shut the fuck up. I'm not even entertaining this. The fact he gets an assist for that is criminal.
This is where stats are so misleading, aren't they? How is that an assist? Honestly, it's harder to do what he did than
I know!
score.
He could never do that again. He could never do that again, ever.
And he cut a very frustrated figure, like I say, with that miss to make it 3 late on. I felt as though Walker's goal involved all the kind of star performers on Saturday for me.
Apart from Nando Lee.
Apart from Big Nando. Irving kind of picks up from the Halliday Walker exchange, and it is just a wicked ball from Michael Smith. The sort of ball that Big Nando's been craving. Obviously mentioned it in the press last week and whatever.
Again, it's like he gets brought off and everybody starts going, right, now we'll start crossing it in.
It actually boils your blood, doesn't it? It's nothing
Imagine
new
being
though.
him.
It's genuinely nothing new. I can recall saying it a pod or two ago about Big Uchi being here and we'd never cross. And then we've got Liam Boyce, who's obviously not that tall in comparison, and we're sending aimless balls into the box. But it's a great finish from Jamie and seals the 3 points. Obviously 7 for the season now for our number 7. I'm not gonna lie, this will be obviously a big debate, but my player of the season shout would be looking a lot better if he started every week. Just gonna throw that out there.
Right, wait. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Get to that in a minute, because before there's a couple of points I want to finish on the Ayr game. The last thing I want to say is that, unbelievably, I'm going to compliment another team. People call me out on this, that I'm too critical of other teams.
I wouldn't disagree, but go on.
What? Why? Who gives a shit? We're a Hearts podcast.
No, to be fair, I mean we have every right to be biased, but go on.
I think every team in this league's shit, including ourselves. There you go. That's my blanket statement as a soundbite. But I thought Sinisalo in goal for Ayr, apart from Nandwillie, was man of the match. I'd heard so much about him before the game, and I'd heard so much about him the last time we played Ayr at Tynecastle, and obviously I'd never seen him before, and the first thing he did 9 minutes in was have a massive howler and let Kingsley score a free kick he should never have been able to score and then concede 5. So I was like, well, he can't be that good. And then this weekend's performance, it would have been 4 or 5 without him. He made, that I can think of, 3 fantastic saves, 2 against Nandwillie and then the one at the end against Castanier. He also just made a lot of routine saves that you would expect him to score. But you can understand why he's so hotly tipped.
Absolutely. I mean, he's only 19, I think.
Yeah.
On loan from Aston Villa, who, again, they had a decent keeper out on loan in the Premiership. I think he was at Livingston. Was it the boy Sarkic? Was it last
the name
season?
rings a bell.
Yeah. So they seem to have a decent eye for a keeper, but he looks a really good talent. 19 years of age. I couldn't believe that as soon as I saw it. So again, I mean, David Hopkins talked about kind of wanting to frustrate and obviously being disappointed that they were only 20 minutes away. Had they successfully kept a clean sheet, obviously then you're looking at the keeper because, like you say, countless fantastic saves, and I don't know whether some of them were just down to our poor finishing or whether they just really were decent stops. I think it's probably a mixture of both.
I think that, especially those 3 chances I said, I don't think Nandwillie or Castanier could do anything different. They in their moment, they do what you would expect a striker to do. Especially in those 3 saves, it's just fantastic positioning by him.
I think Big Nando's in the second half, the one that I talked about where Smith shifts it onto his left, I thought that was a pretty poor finish. But again, he's got to be there to save it.
I think that's just a class save.
So I don't know. So it's one for debate anyway. But I don't know. I think it sounds obvious to say, but had he slid it further into the corner, then it is 1-0. I think he just gets enough on it from a goalkeeper perspective, but having never played in goal, I couldn't tell you. So let's move on.
Well, that is all we have on the air game today. However, Adam has some homework for everybody, because we're not original and we're stealing concepts from other more popular Hearts podcasts.
It's not that we're stealing a concept. I just look and think we don't really interact with our listeners bar the occasional tweet or whatever, but I just thought...
Scars around the funnel, please do not sue us.
And
just have to get that in there.
And this is my story. Obviously I have the teaser and whatever, so you'd be as well doing that again.
This is my story, please do not sue us.
But basically, my pal Ando inspired the group chat of boys that I'm in to pick up a mystery jersey, and I got Roma. If you haven't seen it on my YouTube channel,
yes, you do.
And from that, I don't know how I got into the conversation with my dad on Saturday afternoon. We were watching Soccer Saturday, and I was looking at it thinking, Rangers have recently announced their kind of partnership with Hamburg. Aberdeen have got their Atalanta United link up, and I thought Roma would be like a fantastic partnership for us. And then I got wondering, this would be a really good homework question, in the sense that if you could choose like a European giant or somebody, doesn't even have to be European, could be, obviously Aberdeen's is across to America. If we could have like a partnership with a big club, who would be your club of choice? I don't want to get too Football Manager here, but like a senior affiliate, and we had some like partnership. I mean, I know that there's talk of Schalke amongst the Hearts fans.
That is who I was going to pick, because Schalke, depressingly, are my German team.
But I was going to say they are absolutely murder, aren't they? So I don't know. I just thought it'd be quite an interesting topic, and I love the talk on Scars Around the Funnel about kind of the pre-season and your sort of where you'd like to go. It'd be brilliant if we could have these kind of partnerships and Hearts were at like the Olympico to take on Roma in a friendly. That'd be superb. I don't know, I felt as though if we were looking to make Hearts grow, I don't see why we haven't got anything like that, because as far as I can see, I think even Celtic they not have some like Mexican team or other, or like links to Betis and whoever. And I don't know. I mean, it obviously doesn't have to be a senior one either, because Hibs have got their link up with Stenhousemuir as well now, which is quite cute. But I don't know.
You've definitely picked the right side of Rome, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. I knew you wouldn't be happy with Lazio and their views, but have you got anyone in mind? What do you think?
Well, see, I like Schalke.
It's just a shame that they're mince.
Listen, I was liking Schalke with Neuer, Draxler. Oh, that was the
Klaas-Jan Huntelaar.
Yes,
what
yes,
a player.
Exactly. Those folk, and just that was peak me, like 2011. Oh, Schalke were amazing then, and then they've been shit for 10 years. See, also my Italian team, I always really like Palermo. That's went down the fucking toilet and all.
They've got Mallory Martin amongst the ranks, don't they?
Exactly. I just like their pink kit. When I was wee, I really like pink kits.
Are you just thinking back to like Kyle Lafferty and Paulo Dybala up front together?
I mean, it wasn't Lafferty that was doing it, but yeah, Dybala and like Milinkovic-Savic and stuff like that were just amazing. That's why I really like Everton's old black and pink third kit or away kit or something.
With a Chang sponsor?
Yes. Maybe?
Yeah.
The badge was like pink.
Yes, I do remember that.
And it was like one of
my pal
those
Fraser, who's
kits.
a big Jambo, he used to have that pink Everton top, and it was an absolute beauty. Don't know if he's still got it.
I just really like pink kits, so I always really like Palermo. But it is a good shout, because I remember seeing a press statement from Aberdeen with the whole Atalanta connection, and it was like, it is all about mobilisation, upward mobility, and trying to just get your brand out there. And you have to look at the US generally is quite an untapped market, I guess, for football generally. Obviously for sport.
No, they're unaware of Scotch soccer.
Yes, exactly. So it's from a business point of view, it's fantastic for Aberdeen to do this. But that made me think, like, for example, this morning the A and J leagues were talk of a lot of media attention because there was some mental games, and it's like you go out to there, like obviously Gowser's out there just now. It's had both the leagues have had quite a lot of attention in the past few years. It is one of those areas, kind of Asia and Oceania, that a club from there you could do something with. And then, as you said, if you want to go more down the route of kind of established teams, it would be someone from the Big Five nations. But it definitely would be interesting, and I'd absolutely love to hear what people think and their justifications for why the club they've chosen.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not wanting some shouts like Real Madrid or anything like that. You know, we need something with a bit of substance. I think the Asia shouts are a really interesting one, because if we're being frank, the money from Osman Sow was a welcome boost. So maybe we could tap into another Chinese team like a Shanghai Shenhua or something. One of the big ones.
Where's Hulk?
Is he not back in Brazil? I think.
Is he?
A Brazilian one would be class.
Can
Imagine
we just
that.
do whatever club Hulk's at so we can get him on loan?
Hearts linking up with like a Sao Paulo or something like that. That would be mad.
Oh, let's go with Newell's Old Boys.
Oh, that's a shout. That's a serious shout. They make it. That's a brilliant one, because like Boca and River are equivalent to like your Rangers and Celtic. Mm-hmm. And Newell's Old Boys, yeah, that'd be a brilliant shout. And we get some like Argentinian wonder kids on loan.
I also really like the idea of River play. I do really like the idea of River play.
Fair enough. I don't know.
But Newell's would be good because they produced both Maradona and Messi. So maybe we can just get the next one.
Some little left-footed number 10 rocks up tiny, exactly. And we are credited with giving them game time to develop into the world-class superstar that they become.
No, what would happen is that we deride them for being too small, boo them, and they'd be rubbish, and then go on to be absolutely class.
World beaters elsewhere.
Yeah. Have we learned nothing from the Machino transfer?
Well, it's funny you mentioned Machino, because I thought of him just there. Even like, like it or lump it, this is a part of modern football, and I know that this whole conversation might switch off some of our older listeners. I get that. But even like, I'm not saying we should go into the City group. I saw a tweet actually saying that I'm surprised that Edinburgh City aren't in the City group. But why could
see that as well?
But why could we not set up an affiliate with like a Man City or a Man United, given we've had a couple loan players from them in the past?
We're not going back to Man United. They gave us Joe Pereira. That is it.
They also gave us Demi Mitchell.
Right, and he was shit after the first time. He was great.
But the first time he was brilliant.
Time he was here. Yeah, and then he was rubbish.
But to be fair, a record with English club loanees full stop isn't great, is it?
Wait, no, I've got it.
Don't say Liverpool.
No.
Go on.
Burnley. And Jimmy Dunn can come back.
God.
And then Sean Dyche can eventually become our manager, which is my dream.
Would you love Sean Dyche as Hearts manager?
Are you being serious? I'd love him more than any other manager on the planet. If you give me between Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp and Sean Dyche, I'd pick Sean Dyche for the patter alone.
Because I also love Sean Dyche. That's quite something. I'm surprised. I just love his voice.
Love his voice.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not going to do my Sean Dyche impression because it's pressure, but
please do. No, that needs to happen now.
No, I'll maybe do it for another time, but I'll see. I'll send you it and you can review it and see if it's any good. But no, I thought this was an interesting talking point, and I'd be intrigued to see where folk, because I mean we don't have to keep it in the UK. I think Hearts have enough of a stature within the UK. Everybody's aware of Hearts. It's more kind of on the Euro stage, really. I don't know.
Well, tweet us at Perth to Paisley with all your suggestions. Me and Adam will come back next week with an actual club in mind. We'll have a think about it, give our justifications, and then we'll hear from some of yours. So please do tweet us that at Perth to Paisley, or if you want to email in, perthpaisley@gmail.com.
I was going to say, mate, if you had to give one right here, right now, would Schalke be yours?
Schalke would be mine, but that's just purely personal affiliation. What about you?
I'm going Roma. Why not?
Go for it.
Laurie would be buzzing with that as well, wouldn't he?
Laurie would be. Laurie Dunsire would be loving his life.
Let's make it happen.
If we had an affiliate.
Let's make it happen.
So, moving on. Well, actually, kind of moving back to a point that we hinted at earlier. Jamie Walker again came off the bench and scored again. And it made a lot more people kind of band towards the idea that why is Jamie Walker not starting games? Whenever you see the team now and you look in the replies, 90% of them are, well, some of them are Nielsen out, but most of them are why is Jamie Walker on the bench? We don't need to dedicate loads of time to it because Jamie Walker has become one of the main themes of our podcast this season, but where do you stand on this? Despite I can probably guess where you stand on this.
You know full well where I start, and I dread to think. But this is one of the main debates of this pod, isn't it? Because you're very much a preserver in that you'd like to see him come off the bench. Yes. I just believe that, particularly given Gary Mackay-Steven's performance at the weekend, that there is more to come from Jamie Walker at the start of a match. You're not telling me that GMS is a better number 10 than Jamie Walker, or that, I mean, Stephen Naismith's out at the minute as well. He'd be the other contender. I'm trying to think of other folk. You've obviously talked about wanting McInnes in there. I obviously listened to Robbie post-match, and whilst he was talking about our desire to grab more goals, Big Nando as well, obviously wanting more clean sheets, he said that Jamie Walker wasn't too far away fitness wise, which obviously makes me, it reassures me, but why have we left it to this point not to kind of clarify that? You know, if Walker, we've made the point on here that if they're on the bench they should be fit enough to start, but if he's struggling fitness wise, why doesn't he come out and say that beforehand? You know, I feel as though the doubts creep in because you think Walker's one of our best players in that position, so surely he's worthy of a start. But if he's not up to it fitness wise, then just come out and say that. I'd be, then it answers all the queries and we don't get as agitated. No?
Well, I don't want Walker starting in the 10. I don't want GMS starting in the 10 either.
I was literally just about to ask, would you rather Gary Mackay-Steven? But you're a McInnes. You're very much on the McInnes for 10 bandwagon, aren't you?
Absolutely. Now, that kind of is fucked by last weekend and this upcoming weekend, because for that to work, I need Herring. And Herring's suspended, obviously. Actually, no, I don't. I've just thought of that right now. No, I don't at all. I would like Irving, and I would like the Diamond, obviously, to stay. Because obviously we have had a 10 regardless of what formation, because we either played the 4-2-3-1 or 4-1-2-1-2. In the 4-1-2-1-2, I would like Irving as the sitter. Halliday. Yay.
Sorry, say that again?
It's fine. Until Herring's back, Halliday. Then as soon as Herring's back, Halliday out. With Irving in that position. McGill alongside. And McInnes in the 10.
You're continuing to bang the Scott McGill drum, aren't you?
He's played twice and was good both games. Halliday's had a good 45 minutes and has played like 20 games.
I think you've been very harsh on Andy Halliday, but
I disagree. I think he's been.
Of course you do. I think you're being very harsh on Andy Halliday. It's not as though you're going to go, oh well, do you know what? I think you might be right.
But to go back to the Jamie Walker point, it has been proven that he works best off the bench. He is currently doing incredibly well off the bench. I don't understand from a tactical point why you would change that.
Primarily because in the first hour or so on Saturday we were terrible. And why?
But that's what I'm saying. That's with a 10 that I disagree with.
But you know what?
I agree that GMS shouldn't be the 10. I agree with that. But I don't think we would have been any better with Walker, because there has been no evidence this season, apart from one Morton away, which was the easiest game we've had all year, that Walker works when he starts.
Do you know what? I think there's an element of doubt that creeps in, because I look at the Alloa performance at home when we blew them away 3-0 and the game was done inside half an hour or whatever it was. To me, Walker starting would represent that, in the sense that anxiety doesn't grow if we're going out smashing teams and the game's done after half an hour. The anxiety for me came because it gets to 70 minutes and I think, is this going to be our day or not? You know, I feel as though should Walker start and we blow whoever it is away, then by all means we can then experiment. The game's done. You know, that's the time for experimentation. I just feel as though it's a case of collecting the 3 points as soon as we can on any given day, and then we can mess around with stuff. We can experiment with personnel in positions that they're not traditionally accustomed to.
But I think we have I don't think we have a high chance doing that with Walker starting. I think we have less of a chance.
Why?
Because Walker isn't fit enough anymore. I don't think he'll ever be fit enough to play 90 minutes at full level. I don't think he ever will be.
That's a big claim.
Obviously, this is not me like deriding him for that. I'm not saying, for God's sake, this is ridiculous. I mean, looking at the injury he had, I don't think any athlete can be at the level he is when he comes on for that final 20, 25, half an hour, for the whole 90, just because of that. And I think it works best to have someone who is maybe less effective in the 10, whether that is GMS, McInnes, McGill, Irving, Halliday, Naismith, Boyce, literally every other option, and have it be less effective, and then have Walker come on and be the impact, than have Walker start, be ineffective, and then we don't have anyone to be effective come on. Because I don't think GMS will be effective in the same way that Walker is off the bench.
But then does that not kind of... If the game's done, what does it matter?
But I don't think it would be... There's no evidence that Jamie Walker starts and then therefore we then blitz teams. Has that happened once this season?
Morton away?
But we didn't blitz them. We went in 1-0 at half time.
I'm scraping the barrel here, mate.
I think I will give you... did he start that Alloa game?
Good question.
I feel like he maybe got an assist.
Do you know, that feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. Did he not get an assist for Herring?
I don't know. That's a great question. I'm gonna have a check just now.
Well, but I'll even give you that one. I'll give you that happened.
I know what you're saying. You're looking for kind of more.
In a season of 20. And I know he's not started every game. I know that. But I don't see any evidence of when Jamie Walker starts, we play really well.
Good knowledge, by the way. Sorry.
Was it an assist for Herring?
It was an assist for Peter Herring, yeah. 37 minutes, 3-0 up.
It was a cut inside, I remember it.
Superb.
Herring was like...
Good knowledge, mate. Sorry to cut you off there. But
I can't remember. Impressive. Did he start, though? Did he start?
I'm assuming he must have. I'll click back on
I swear there was an injury, though, and he might have come on. If I've got this...
I know, he did start. He did.
Oh, okay.
He did.
Right, okay.
To be fair, didn't start in the 10. The team that day was Gordon in goal, back four, Smith, Halkett, Berra, Kingsley, Herring and Halliday sitting with Naismith in the 10, Roberts on the left, Boyce up front, and Walker was actually on the right.
Oh, of course he was.
So
yeah, because that was in that time where we just kept playing them out wide.
That's right. So
but that's what I mean. So, like, I understand why people want me to start, but I don't think that's down to him. I think it's down to because we have an ineffective player in his position. See, if we had a 10 that was doing really well and then was brought off as he tired and Walker came on, I think people would be a lot more understanding. But I'd still rather have Walker come on and be great for the last 20 minutes, as he has been the last few weeks, than start. And because if you go back and listen to the podcast this season, that's the podcast where I've been harshest on him, where he started and done absolutely nothing until he's either come off or lasted 90 and done nothing.
It's interesting. I don't know.
It is interesting. It's not. There's not a definitive right
or wrong
answer here.
No, there's not. There's not. And I think I'm intrigued to hear you say that about his injury. Do you not even think I mean, I know first time around under Nielsen, there was the talk of how harsh the pre-season was. You can't see him getting back to his best, even with a full pre-season under his belt or whatever, no?
I don't, but again, I don't want that to be taken like I'm deriding him by people or anything like that.
No, of course not.
I don't think anybody could get up to the level they were at. Because if the rumours are to be believed, Walker's knee injury was really, really bad. Like, one of the worst knee injuries you can have. And his knees always kind of had troubled him throughout his career. And I just think I honestly think it's a bit unfair to him to force him into a starting 11 when it's clear that he works so well as an impact sub. And maybe, listen, I will totally understand if he's not happy with that role. I totally understand that, particularly his age. It's the age that people say it's the prime of your career and stuff like that. I totally understand that. But all the evidence points, especially this season, and you have to factor that in as well, it's at a lower division as well. It's not like he's starting in the Premiership and is being ineffective. It's like for many games he's starting in the Championship and being ineffective. But then he's coming on and doing really well. So I just personally, if I was Robbie Nielsen, I just wouldn't change that. I'd go, right, I might have to have a weaker player in the 10 from the start and have Walker come on and get a wee bit of anger from the fans when Walker then does well. Instead of going, right, I'll appease the fans, but then Walker will do nothing.
And then he's made to look like the mug.
Yeah, exactly. It protects the player as well.
I'm intrigued. I mean, I just don't see how we've got to the stage where we can't have a recognised creative midfielder amongst our ranks from the start of a match.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I think we need to. That's one of the main areas I think we need to buy, unless McInnes is put in that position that and does well. Yeah,
that's fair enough. That's interesting. So, what would you rank that second behind centre half then?
Yeah, personally, again, it depends a wee bit what happens with Ginnelly. So a wide man might be important, but in this current diamond, we don't really need a wide man because the fullbacks are doing it. But I think a 10 that we can rely on to start games.
We're obviously going to have wingers though. It's not like we're going to be.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to be adamant in this diamond.
35 central players and no wide men.
I listen. It's like Levine's tenure all over again.
I know.
The entire philosophy of Heart and Midlothian has been changed to free-flowing tiki-taka attacking football with no wide players whatsoever. It's just solely built on possession, as if that's ever going to happen.
Exactly. Well, that's a good segue to our final point as we go to a team that isn't exactly known for its fast-moving tiki-taka attacking football, as Hearts will travel to Gayfield and go to Arbroath for the first in the last 7 games. We only need now 13 points from the remaining 35 to clinch the title. How do you see this weekend going?
Hold on a second. From the remaining 35 points?
Yeah, we've got 7 games left.
Yeah, it's a maximum of 21.
Why where have I got that from?
God knows.
I've been thinking 35 all day. I think I said that to you before the show.
I've only just picked up on it now.
Thank fuck you did, by the way. Listen. I got my school's lowest mark in maths in the history of the building. Right? So we're not here to discuss
your arithmetic or lack of.
Exactly.
What was the previous question?
How well do you think we're going to do?
Well, let's see. Was it last week I ran through the fixtures? Yeah.
This was one of 2 that we said could cause problems alongside away to Dunfermline.
Yeah, and potentially Wraith as well on the last day.
But by then it doesn't matter.
No, exactly. I think
of all the 35 points
we've somehow amassed an extra 14 from nowhere.
Exactly.
Do you know, I think Craig Gordon was bang on in his summary in that 3 points was obviously the main thing. He's happy with the clean sheet. Obviously now 66 and 200, can I just say, is a ridiculous record.
I love that he just had that stat.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Obviously he's wanting to add to that, so that's great. And obviously this was one of the fixtures in which he got one through a couple fantastic saves late on, if my memory serves me. So he's just bang on in that we have to keep winning. And I think the squad, obviously, were frustrated at not converting their possession into clear-cut opportunities at the weekend. Whether we can try and do that up north remains to be seen. But certainly, I think their weekend result, did they lose 1-0 at East End? Was it Dunfermline and Arbroath? Yeah. So that obviously plays into our hands, and I think we've just got to try and grind it out. I mean, the last time we were up there wasn't exactly pretty. Thankfully, it's a Saturday as opposed to a Friday night fixture on the box again, because I couldn't go through another one of them. So just got to find a way, and hopefully, you know what, that's us now scored twice in consecutive games after, you know, a run of one apiece for a wee while. So hopefully we can continue to carve out opportunities, and more importantly take them whilst restricting them to few. So fingers crossed, and I think we've got every right to go in there with a positive mindset, given now 6 points from the last available 6. So happy days, mate. Hopefully we can keep it going, although it will be tough. I'm not one for usually blaming the weather, but if it's horrible, freezing and windy up there, then I'll be that little bit more lenient to a weather excuse.
So what's your prediction?
Wouldn't be surprised to see another 1-0, to be honest. Do you know, I'll say another 2-0 win. Another 2-0 win.
Interesting. I'm going to go with a 1-0 to us, just because I think it could be one of the another nightmare, just have to grind it out games.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. I just hope we're a little bit better defensively than we were the last time up there. And obviously now that clean sheet, I think that's the 7th in the 20th league, in the 20 league games rather. So it's something to build on, definitely. Although it's not like we were tested, like we say. So hopefully, I mean, I'd imagine we'll be under the cosh for a little bit, but we've just got to ride it out.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for listening. A wee bit of a longer one this week, as we had a few things to discuss. Please follow us on all the social medias. We are at Perth Paisley on everything. You can contact us for the homework question: which club would you like us to have a link with? At Perth Paisley on Twitter, Facebook, perthpaisley@gmail.com. Leave us a rating on your platform of choice. It massively helps. You can watch us on YouTube as well. Adam, where can they get you on all the socials?
They can get me on all the socials at Adam T. Kendall, and I'll tweet out regarding the kind of senior affiliate, if you like, on Wednesday night, and you can leave your responses to that, and we'll read them out on the next episode of the podcast. As for yourself, mate, I believe you've had a little username change. What's prompted that?
I have indeed. This means nothing for 90% of the people watching, but I had a wrestling pun, and I no longer work in wrestling journalism. So I was like, let's just move away from that and just go with my name. So I am at DMcIver22, because it's my name and my lucky number. So you can get us there on all those places. We will be back next week, hopefully, to discuss a win at Gayfield. But we will see you next time. Bye bye.
Money JTs!